Hey guys, Nerdarchy Dave here with Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds, hanging out with some of my esteemed colleagues,
I'm Ted.
I'm Nate.
and we're gonna do a little introductory video from the DMG into magic items. There's a lot of stuff to go over there, so we're just gonna touch on some key points today.
Okay.
Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a good
Rocks.
plan.
So just
But are you guys enchanted with the idea?
looking through, there's a lot of information. Good chunk of pages that talks about magic items. First glance, what's your overall impression?
It really does harken back to 1E and 2E as far as the feel. A lot of this stuff from 3rd edition, it looks like they've kind of bagged it.
Mm-hmm. What's your impression, Nate?
It feels really like a lot of cool, intricate, and weird magic items that I like a lot better than just like plus whatever to something. And I was kind of disenchanted with that line of thinking, but just looking at the wonders items is really, really fun.
Well, I don't know how the rest of you guys feel. Looking back through the ages of role playing, like the more memorable magic items I've gotten, in 2nd and 3rd and 4th edition campaigns are the items that that the ones that stand out are the ones that give you access to some kind of property, or that do something really interesting. It's not those like, oh well, I got my +4 weapon that's keen and holy and blah blah blah. They're cool, but they're not as memorable because in 3rd edition and whatnot, you just acquire those type of things. So what is your...
Well, on that vein, in 3rd edition, you were given the formula to craft the armor or the weapon as a GM. Like, this is how you do it. These are the rules. And it absolutely kind of, after a while, made it kind of boring. That you aren't finding unique things because like everybody knew what was on the
the
charts and the tables. We all had access to the same thing. And as a DM, I think because you had those charts and tables, you were less inspired to build a magic item from scratch.
I always like coming up with something new and interesting as a DM when I give out magic items. For you guys out there, check out the latest gameplay video, whether it's out or not, I don't know, but when it goes out,
eventually it'll be out.
my 5e game I ran, I gave out items specifically tailored to each of the characters, and I did it so that it's nothing that's in the book. I didn't roll on any charts. I just said, okay, well, let's give something that's low powered and beneficial to each of the characters that were at the table,
and fun. I felt like all the items were fun.
So it was definitely cool. And in 3rd edition, that kind of thing wasn't really the norm.
No, definitely that's like harkens back to more like 2E. Like, in 3rd edition, you weren't really encouraged to get gifts from the abominable Santa Claus. Which Redbeard, the abominable Santa Claus, which was a lot of fun. So, okay, there's a couple things that jump out at 5th edition for me. They brought back the variants for mixing potions and scroll mishaps. You know what? I think gamers just like tables, personally, and and randomness. So
Absolutely.
I don't like in generating my character so much, but in playing the game, I think it's fun.
Indeed.
Because I had this happen where I rolled a 00 because I drank 2 potions back to back, and one of them, I got Cure Light Wounds permanent as basically a spell-like ability, and that stuff is back in the game. Love that. There's also, magic formulas as a magic item, as a reward. Because in this edition, you can't just craft magic items like you could before.
With a feat.
With a feat, yeah. There's a lot more. It requires a lot more. And the ability to do it is something that you can actually earn through gameplay, which is, it's cooler. It feels so much more special when your character discovers this stuff than you I gained 3rd level and I select X feat, and I
spent this much XP,
and I can now brew potions. The way charges work in this edition is a lot different.
I actually like the recharging charge. I'm not a big fan of stuff that eventually it's like, well, this is a cool sword, but now it's useless.
But there's a neat caveat to that. It's like, the charges are lower per day, but you get them every day. But if you use them all, there's a chance that the item disintegrates.
Right.
Yes.
Which is kind of cool.
So you just can't
in
blast out all
second
the
edition, if I
attacks.
remember correctly, the things didn't recharge when they were used; they were done, right?
Yeah, if it
Most
was
things, yeah.
if it was a staff or a wand or a rod, that was generally how it worked. There were certain things that did have charges per day, but they were rarer items.
So some of the staves had so many charges a day, but they didn't go away if you used them all. It just
No, I think most of the staves, once you use that final charge, you were done.
And then third edition, there were ways to recharge your wands, but they didn't go away if you emptied it. It was just it's inert magic item. My kind of favorite chart, is right here on 142, 143. When you create a magic item, here's a whole list of things that you can do to say, well, what's unique about it? Who created it? What was intended to use? What is a detail from its history? What minor property does it have? What quirk does it have? So you've got the ability to say, I'm going to add something interesting to an already existing magic item. It's a +1 sword, but you know what? It glows. Yeah, we've all seen Sting, so it's not as interesting. But what about Gleaming? The item never gets dirty. How cool is it to be like, I've got a fighter, and maybe he's a little bit of a priss, and you give him a long sword that, it never has blood on it, regardless of the number of things he's slain. I think that's pretty neat.
So some of these things I've done before on my own. I had given someone a long sword, and it was only a +1 sword, but every time they drew it, it would sing.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that style of magic items where, it's only a +1 long sword, but if they can read the runes or decipher them, the name is War Song, and when they draw it from the scabbard for battle, it sings a battle hymn.
Well, the very first campaign that our group ran. My cleric, he had robes that, apart from everything else that they did, they had that gleaming, property. It couldn't get stained or dirty, And there was a time that he was delivering a speech to the masses, trying to persuade them, towards a certain end, and they threw mud at him, and the mud just rolled off, not leaving any kind of trail, and that was kind of a symbolic meaning to them, and like, well, holy crap, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about.
Instead of just has a minor magic item.
Well,
since you mentioned the quirks, right? And I just happened to look down and see blissful. While in possession of the item, the bearer feels fortunate and optimistic about the future, what the future holds. Butterflies and other harmless creatures may frolic in the item's presence. You're freaking Snow White.
That is pretty darn cool.
So the quirks can be good, they can be bad, and it's just interesting, along with the other stuff. So that's definitely something that was done. Going on what we were talking about before with the charges, they also have the variant in here for the old school wand of X amount. You use it until it's maximum, and then when it's done, it's done.
So like a potion with multiple uses.
No, they're calling out like wands and stuff like that.
Okay.
Well, yeah, things with charges.
Yeah, so potion's like a one-time use most of the times. So like the wand has like a certain amount of charges.
No, they're saying instead of like the rule that's introduced now is it regains charges per day.
Oh, okay.
Where, here it is. The typical wand has expendable charges. If you'd like wands to be a limited resource, you can make some of them incapable of regaining charges. Consider increasing the base number of charges in such a wand to a maximum of 25 charges. These charges are never regained once they're expended. So it's basically all the wands from previous editions.
Right.
One of the things that they have in here is a variant rule that I was going to do here regardless, is for identification. Like they made it really easy to figure out what magic items do. Either the identify spell on the spot, or you spend a short rest fondling it, and then you know what it does. I kind of hate that personally. I want my players to actually have to expend resources or work at it a little bit at least to know what it is. I mean, that used to be the part of the fun was when you were gaming, like the party then had to go find someone to identify their magic items and tell them what they had.
Yep.
You never had a way to even know what it was before, I guess third edition.
And I mean that optional rule is designed for GMs who want to add that extra layer in there, or it's for the regular rules, I guess you could say, is for what do you do if you have a party that doesn't have access to magic? What if you are playing in a Conan universe, and wizard is not a playable class? So how do you understand that this is a better sword?
You just swing that.
Yeah, you
just
swing
swing
that. And hey, and for some reason now woodland creatures are frolicking around you and butterflies.
Yeah.
Who knew? But now, so the way we played in previous editions, it was like if you picked up, really good armor or weapons, you just could tell that they were really well made.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not magical, but clearly better than any piece of crap that you had. Unless one of the quirks is they appear to be a piece of crap, but they're actually really good. But for the most part, if you pick up a sword and it's enchanted, it's going to be very well balanced. It's going to feel better than the sword you're probably wielding.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
and if you detect magic on it, you realize, hey, there's something special.
But can you differentiate as a fighter? Well, this is a +1, this is a +2, and this is a +3 because I'm highly skilled at sword work and blah 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 blah. It's going to be a lot harder to.
It would be a lot harder, and only if okay. Here's the thing: for the story element, at first you go, "Hey, this is this blah blah blah," and if there's nothing really to reveal, or if it's not really crucial, you can be, "Look, it's a +2 weapon. Write it on your character sheet." But there might be other abilities that you don't tell them about.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. For the mechanics of it, you kind of have to deal with that. But any of the side stuff, I absolutely feel that's always fun to come up with that, or get that found out, through actual play. I don't think, oh, what does this book do? Reveal your secrets to me. Is not gonna work.
Well, yeah. So I feel like. Armor and weapons is no big deal. Eventually, you just tell them it does actually. It's magic. Things are having more trouble to hit you. So now they have the number to go with it. And this way, you as the DM don't have to keep track of the changes to their character sheet.
Right.
Granted, it is a lot easier when there's someone with Identify that can go, oh, this does this, this does that. But even if it makes it easier, I still just don't like the idea of blanket going, here you go off into the corner and talk soothingly to the sword and you'll know what it does, because it's just weird.
And then there's the wearing or experiment with the optional difficulty in identifying. There's the wearing and kind of experimenting with it, which can be bad once you give the items a cursed property to it. But they give an example of Ring of Jumping. It's like, oh well, your steps feel strangely springy, and then you start like, well, I'm going to see how far I can jump. And obviously, if you jump further, it must have that magical property. But maybe it's also a cursed ring.
Maybe you shouldn't have tried testing that near a cliff.
Yeah. Maybe there's a curse about it where you try and jump large expanses thinking that you can do it. So it's actually like a suicide ring and you just didn't know.
Yeah.
A suicidal ring of jumping?
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's really just a brief overview. I mean, there's a ton of cool stuff,
Oh yeah, I'm really impressed with the artwork.
Oh yeah, the art is phenomenal on the magic items.
Really brings
the
it
art's
out.
great, and then of course let's let's not ignore the whole sentient magic item chart. You can make anything you want and be able to talk to your players.
Oh,
well, yeah, but that's been in every edition, I'm pretty sure, from the beginning. And until the end, it'll be there. They brought back a lot of the really specific magic items. The one thing that is a little bit weird about the magic items, the way they're laid out, it's all alphabetical order.
Yeah.
Previously, it's always been broken up into sections.
Well, I mean, with third edition specifically, you had item slots, and you could only have so many items, blah blah.
Well, in this edition we have attunement.
Well, yes, so anything that's powerful requires attunement, and you can only have 3 attuned items.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they really nerfed the magic item stack for sure. It used to be basically like you said, slots. Now it's well, you can wear 3 rings if you want, but that's all your attuned magic items more than likely.
So.
Also, they gave him more variability. What happened if you only found 3 rings? And you're like, no, sorry, I've got 5 digits, but only
5 digits
per hand. Yeah,
Yeah.
But I can only wear 2 rings.
So that's kind of interesting. They really nerfed the maximum bonus that an item can have. I think what do we we top out at +3.
+3.
I think it de-emphasizes the importance of having a maxed out magical item.
Well, I think going back to the core numbers in 5e, they're all lower. It's got a your numbers start at 8 as opposed to 10. Even a dragon, an ancient dragon's armor class is only a 22. So an extra 2 bonus on those magic items, that's significant. So
Yeah, well, it's overall it's going to limit the bloat.
right.
So if they add other things that you can get a bonus for now, ooh, the Ring of Mind Shielding, I really like that.
The brain.
Yeah, it literally looks like a brain made out of gems. It's a little off top. Well, maybe not. I don't know. But it's really badass looking. It just grabbed my eye right away. But yeah, so the magic items, like in 3rd edition and Pathfinder, like you couldn't build your character without having them.
Right.
So it almost became like about your inventory more so than your character, which I kind of hate that part of the game.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean,
It sucked the magic right out of magic items for me.
I can tell you the amount of hours I've spent, poring over, 3rd edition books, trying to exploit the magic item, combinations. But I blanket statement: the magic items in this edition are awesome.
I'll go with that. I like that. I don't put this down because I'm getting sucked in the book and
I'm
out
reading
of the conversation.
So why don't you tell us what your favorite magic item is? Out of the 5e book and why. While you're doing that, go ahead and click like, share, subscribe,
and check us out on nerdarchy.com.
You can also join the conversation on Reddit.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.